I'll start my story from when I feel like I was actually consciously self-searching. And that was in 1983. I was living in Detroit. And this boyfriend said, Donna, I'm going to pay for you to take S training. I had no idea what it was. He said, because you need it. And so I figured he was right. And I took it, and it was fantastic. And it was like a spiritual experience for me because I could see the oneness of everyone. And then I did the 6-day course, which was in upstate New York. And when I'd been living in Detroit. I was an artist, and I was desperate to move to New York. That was like all I wanted to do was move to New York. And I met somebody there, and they said, you should be living in New York. And I said, yeah, I should. And he said, well, if you want to come and stay with me and get started, you can do that. So I came back from the 6-day, just got rid of all my stuff, and drove to New York City. And then I continued to do S things. And then after that, I did what was called direct centering. And the person running the direct centering course was a guy named Gavin, and he also went by Byron. And I found out like 20 years later from Ed Luck that he was a Baba lover, and they were friends in Florida. And that triggered a memory of when the class first started. He had a picture on the wall, and it had to have been a picture of Baba. And he had said that was his guru or master or something like that. And I was quite taken with that because I had no concept of it. Also, then I got involved in a group. There were about 24 of us, and they were all entrepreneurs. I wasn't an entrepreneur, but I had a nice job. I was working at Columbia Pictures at the time. Not that that matters, but anyway. And so we would get together for weekends and do crazy things, break up in pods, go out in the world, do things, come back and share our experiences and just talk about what happened. And then after 3 years, I think that Baba just did something, because all of a sudden it was like I realized I didn't want to be in the group. The leader seemed to be too cold for me, and it made me very nervous after 3 years. But she had talked about reincarnation. She had named the 5 perfect masters, the picture. And so I left the group, but I could see the value of having a teacher, a spiritual type. But I wanted an Indian master, Eastern philosophy thing. And I thought, how to find this living in New York City. But I had met Richard Halpert, who wrote Be Here Now, Ram Dass, and I liked him very much, very funny, very lighthearted. And so I got one of his books, and just a little bit into the book, there was a footnote, God Speaks, the Evolution of the Soul. Now, also at this time, I had been praying every night to God, asking him, why am I here? What's the purpose of life? So when I saw this footnote, I said, I have to get this book. So Weiser's bookstore, I went, I got the book, and I was reading like 2 to 4 pages a night, very slow going, but it wasn't an intellectual thing at all. I would read, and what I got, I got. What I didn't get, I didn't. I just read it. And by the end, I was so satisfied. I understood the deal, and why we were here, and the process, and things like that. And but I didn't. There wasn't Baba was not in the picture. And a friend at that time had told me that there was because my mother was living in Murrells Inlet. And so this friend said, you know, there's a saint buried in Myrtle. I don't know if that's what she said, but that's what I heard. There's a saint buried in Myrtle Beach. And that just kept running around in my mind. And sometimes I just focus on that, you know. So I thought when I go visit my mother, because I would go like 3 times a year on vacations, and I'd say I have to go pay my respects. So I think the next visit I visited my mother. I got the phone book. I looked up Mayor Baba in the phone book, and it was there. And I called and asked, can I come by? Sure. So I, right then and there, you know, and I talked my mother into coming with me. So we came to the center, and I had no idea, no clue at all about this. So the lady comes out. This is what I remember. She gets in the car, the 3 of us, and we're driving. I don't remember a lot. It's like I'm going in and out of like a couple different consciousness during this trip. And next I remember we were, I did meet Kitty, but Kitty never looked at me. She talked to my mother about Jesus. And the funny thing is, and later on, you know, Jane would always say, Donna, you have to go visit Kitty. You must go visit Kitty. It was like asking me to go to the moon. I like where would I find Kitty? I don't know how to get there. I don't know where she is. I really don't know her. And it was like, it was just beyond my comprehension. So I never did go see Kitty. But anyway, so on the tour. So next thing, we're walking from the parking lot through the center of the center. And my mother and the tour guide were like, you know, maybe 10 feet ahead of me. And as they walked past the lagoon cabin, and I turned and looked at the lagoon cabin, the side wall. And Baba just, I don't know what he showed me in the gross world, whatever that was, but it was just so beautiful and so much. I was just blown away. And so I started walking past, and I turned in, and I said, I only want to go in here. And they turned around, and then I flipped back, and if it's okay, you know, if it's all right with you. And they came back, and she said, no, we'll just go in here for a little bit. So we went in. The minute I stepped over the threshold, I just started, it wasn't me, I was sort of watching this, sobbing uncontrollably, no emotion to it, but just sobbing. I couldn't stop, and I was really embarrassed. And so the guide said, look, there's a picture of a book of Baba on the table, and why don't you just stay here and go through the book. I'll take your mother, we'll do the whole tour, and we'll pick you up when we're finished. Okay, so they left, and when they left, I noticed across the room, and I didn't know her at the time, but Anna Asadorian was sitting on that little stool across the room. and she said, this is where Baba gave interviews. And just like in a flash, I knew I was with Baba. It was like a different state. Everything just vanished, and I was with something big. And I knew I was getting an interview and that he was the one I was looking for. I really don't remember anything after that at all, but time had to pass. I mean, they were on a tour. But anyway, the only thing I remember next is being in the car and heading towards the gateway. That was that. So that's what happened. And then because I was at my mother's, I would come every day to the center and sit at the boat house and just sob and sob and sob. And every day I would come for I don't know how many days until I just didn't cry anymore. And I thought about this just recently, well, just yesterday, because I used to cry a lot before this. You know, at any little sweet thing or just I would always cry. And I don't, at movies, floods, I don't cry anymore. It just was over, the crying, which is nice. So then what? Oh, yeah, so I was living in New York, and I was not interested in, for like 2 years, I didn't want to meet anybody, no Baba lovers. I was not interested. I was with Baba, that was it. I read the books, I did, memorize the prayers and things. But then I got a call from Dr. Gus, and he said he was calling people to see if returning letters. People had sent letters to Mara. Mara had passed away, and the letters were being returned. And he called and asked me, and I said, no, none of them are mine. But there's you might want to contact. There's a Baba group in New York. You might want to get in touch with them. He said, yes, I know. I'm part of that group. I said, oh. And we talked for a while, and I said, if the Baba lovers are half as nice as you, I think I'll go to a meeting. And I went to a meeting, and it was just wonderful. I love the Baba meetings in New York, and the Baba meetings in general. So I'll just tell you a little thing about going to India. So I didn't go to India till 1994, and this took place in 87, 88, there was a meeting held. Gary Asadorian was holding a meeting on why to go to India, and it was a small group that went, and Philip Krieger was sitting right next to me, and he had bought a ticket for $900, and that really piqued my interest. And he said if I wanted to go, he would do all the paperwork and make the contact with India and everything, which was beyond me at that time. So I was hooked at that point, but I really didn't have much money. So, but just out of curiosity, I called the travel agent, the one Philip had, an Indian travel agent. And I got this Indian guy, and he said, well, when do you want to go? I said, well, I'm just curious. I'm not. He said, no, just pick some dates. Just pick any dates. So I picked some dates. And I said, but I don't have any money. I can't afford to do it. He said, no problem. It's okay. Don't worry about that. Okay, so then about 2 or 3 weeks later, he calls me again about the trip going to India. And I said, well, I don't have the money. I really can't go. He said, no problem. Don't worry about the money. No problem. Okay. And then a third time he called. And I thought, and I heard somebody say, you should beg, borrow, steal, whatever you can do to go. So I thought, I'll just put it on a credit card. And do you know that those dates that I just randomly picked were the dates? Those were the dates I kept. And I went over, and Philip and I went together. We hooked up in London, and he introduced me to a lot of different people. Okay, so he introduced me to like Korshed, and he introduced me to Erich. And then Monty was in the hall. So I went in, and we hugged, and then we looked at each other, and she said, "We've been together." And I just started wailing because, you know, I felt I belonged now. And then I saw my, and then also I started hanging out with Charlie Decker. He was very funny. He was a nice companion, and he took a lot of pictures of me. So I have a lot of documentation on my first trip, which was just wonderful. But on one occasion I had on a sari, and he wanted me to go into the office, Monty's office, and show her me in a sari. And we were coming back from Marizod, and he pulls into the front of her office, and he said, go on in, just show her. I said, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and it was not, I don't want to do that, you know? And finally I just gave in, and I went in, and there was Monty sitting at the desk. You know, she's just looking up at me, waiting. I said, "Hi, Monty." I was so embarrassed. I just turned around. I think I did. I don't even remember. And I just walked out. But I learned something from that. And that is to listen to myself, not what someone else wants me to do, but do what I feel is right for me. So that was embarrassing. I wasn't really embarrassed. It was just whatever it was. Then again, Monty was handing out little gifts, and you know, I was kind of at the back of the line, and I was not into wearing buttons, Baba buttons, and I was thinking to myself, well, we've been together, you know, so I'm sure she's going to give me something just a little different than everybody else, maybe something a little special. And she gives me a Baba button, not a little one, you know, one about this big. And Baba had, like, his head was wrapped. And you know, in my heart I was disappointed, but I said, "Oh, Monty, it's wonderful. I'll always treasure it." And I just felt like everything out of my mouth was just crap, just shit in front of this woman. It's terrible. And at some point I shut up and, you know, walked off. And then Casey came running after me. And she said, "Monty wanted me to tell you something, that she took a long time to pick out just the right button for you." And I turned real quick because I thought she would still be there, but she wasn't there. But obviously she knew what I was thinking and how I felt. So it was very sweet. Unfortunately, I did lose the button on the streets of New York somewhere, so hopefully somebody else got it. Okay, I'm going to tell something that happened to me. Not that I did anything to deserve this or nothing. It just happened for whatever. And I'll just share it with you. So I had moved into my house here in Myrtle Beach. I'd moved down here. And this would have been early '99. And I was making curtains, but I didn't have a sewing machine. My mother had a sewing machine, Merle's Inlet. So I went down there to make curtains for my house. And she and two friends of hers, three ladies, were going to a nursing home in Conway for a friend who, it was their birthday in the nursing home. And I really didn't want to go, but I don't know if my mother said something or what, but I got the feeling that she wanted me to go. And okay, you know, maybe I should go. So I went. And as we were walking up the walk to the front door of this nursing home, and I saw like helpers, like maybe they were on a break, people who worked in the nursing home, just sitting out there talking and things. I don't know where the other three ladies were. They were behind me somewhere. But anyway, I'm walking up the door and I look over to the parking area, and I see this man had just lifted the trunk of his car, and all I saw was like from the eyes up. And he was so happy. He was smiling. He was just so happy. I could see whoever he was looking at, he was just so happy to see them. But he was kind of looking in my direction, but you know, I thought there were other people around. I thought I'll just wait until he looks down and I'll quick look around and see who he's really looking at. And so he did immediately. He put his head down, and I looked around and there was absolutely nobody. I mean, there was nobody at the front door. So, okay, so he was looking at me, and then that's gone. No, that I forget about that, and I go into the nursing home. And we were in there quite a while, you know, at least an hour and a half. And then we came out, and we were just going to step across the driveway to the car. We were on the sidewalk, and the two ladies crossed first. But I looked up, and here he was standing right in the middle of the parking lot between me and the car. And these two ladies, and I mean, he was just looking right at me, big smile, happy, and I was just looking at him. That's all. I was just looking at him. He was just looking at me. We were just kind of locked in together. And the two ladies, I was aware they went by. I don't know, they could have walked right through him. They totally unaware of anybody being there. And then my mother and I walked. She was between Baba and myself. It was Baba, by the way. And as we passed, and I'm just watching. He's looking at me, smiling, and he leaned over and he put his hand on my shoulder as I passed my mother and touched me. And what I got when he touched me was that, yes, you're the one I was looking at. So I continued past him and just looking, and he's just smiling and just standing there, quiet. And then I got in the car, And then it occurred to me again, who was that, you know? And I looked, and there was just this man. He was walking into the nursing home. He had on a sport coat and slacks, and I really, I don't remember if he had a mustache, if he was wearing a hat. I don't know. It was, but I got home that night, and I forgot everything. It wasn't, I got home that night, and it all just came back to me, and the love. It was so much. I was just sobbing and sobbing. I couldn't believe all that love. And I called Arlene Stearns, very dear friend of mine. And I told her what happened. And she said, oh, yes, that was Baba. She said, that's how they do it. When it's happening, they don't want you to know. You know, he didn't want you to know at the time who he was. So, yeah, that happened. I'll tell you another little thing. So, Phyllis Ott wrote a book. She wrote this biography. It was published in 2006, and she was having a party at her house. And a lot of people came. It was a great party. It was a lot of fun. John Kazumko from New York, he was a friend of mine, and he was visiting the center. And so I went over to hook up with him to go to the party. And he had a friend who was also visiting the center. And this guy was funny. I mean, I just laughed at everything he said. He was so funny. And so we went over to the party together. And everything he said, I would just laugh. And if anybody knows who this guy is, I'd really like to know who he is. At some point, a lot of us are standing around this kind of large oval table with hors d'oeuvres and things on it. And he said something, and it was so funny. And everybody started laughing. And I was laughing too. And I had this, I had an experience where it's hard to tell because it was so natural that I didn't know, but I had left my body or something, but there was nothing. There was no party. There was no nothing. Illusion did not exist. And it was me. I knew myself, and I was laughing. Wonderful laughter, just free, and I felt it was kind of moving up, and no sound, no time at all. Just, and then all of a sudden, boom, and I said, and then I realized, oh, I was gone. How long was I gone? I'm still laughing. I hope everybody's still laughing because I'm going to look like an idiot. And the ego was right there, right on time. And I looked around and everybody was still laughing. I was so relieved. And I never said anything, of course. I just carried on like, you know, everything was normal. But it was so interesting to me that it was so natural. I had nothing changed. I was just out there, no thought of anything. And I didn't realize I was even gone until I came back. And then it was like, oh my God, I was gone. I wasn't here. So that was a wonderful gift that Baba gave me, because I understand now when he said it's just an illusion. You know, we just created it all. And it is, it's nothing, absolutely nothing. And wherever I was wonderful and beautiful, and it was like no transition whatsoever going from the growth to this other place. But coming back was quite shocking. So, you know, because of the experience seeing him in at the nursing home, it's so solid with me that he knows where we are all the time. He knows who we are and where we are. And I know he knows, and he's yeah. He's always there. And I'm not really afraid or really worry, you know. I never was a worrier, but, you know, I try to just stay in the moment, because that's where Baba is, in the moment, not in the past or the future or anything. So, and I rely on him, and I feel like he has to take care of me because I'm his lover. And he's responsible for me. So that everything that happens is for the highest good of all concerned. These are Arlene's quotes, but this is true for me. Is for our highest good and the highest good of all concerned, whatever happens. And at the moment, no, it may not seem so great, but looking back, I can see, oh yeah, that was, and the end result took me to some place that was much more for my good, my higher good. I'll tell you one other thing that happened one time. When I first was friends with Arlene, the first night I had dinner at their house, and we had finished dinner, and I was doing the dishes, and I was just standing at the sink doing the dishes, and these waves of love were coming. Just you know, I can see why they call it waves of love, because that's exactly what it felt like, these waves, like ocean waves of love, just coming, big waves, you know. And then later on in the evening, I mentioned it to Arlene that this happened. She said, oh, I felt that too. I didn't know if you felt it or not, you know. So she felt it too. I don't know, maybe they're always there. I don't know. I don't know how this happens or why it happens or anything like that. I have no idea, but it happens, you know. One other time, Arlene and I were sitting in my house, and Jeff was already there, and a friend comes in, and it seemed like behind the friend came Baba. I mean, not physically, but boy, the presence was so strong. I didn't want to breathe. I just sat there still, and I could see Arlene was doing the same thing. We were just sitting there, just not even wanting to breathe, just, you know, just in that presence. It was so strong. And it was clearly Baba's presence. How you know that, I have no idea. But I never mentioned it to her, but it was very clear to me that we were experiencing it at the same time. And the other guys, they're just laughing and carrying on, you know. Yeah. And just recently, I mean, it's just, you know, I know that even though it's illusion, and it's just a medium that Baba works through to that I need to try to really appreciate it more, the beauty of it, because he's in everything. I don't see him in everything. Yeah, one time I was I was in the kitchen. It must have been a holiday, a lot of people, and Theus was really happy and, you know, kissing you know, just, he was the life of the party, like, just having fun, Theus. This was a number of years ago. And before I left, I hugged Theus. And as I was driving to go to the gateway, I kept smelling this incredible scent. And I, you know, where, and then it'd go away and then it'd come, oh my God, what is that? Where, how did I, maybe it was on Theus. You know, maybe he was wearing some cologne or something, whatever it is, it's fabulous. And it was such a mystery. I couldn't quite get it. And so I stopped and I went into the gateway and Jeff was there. I said, Jeff, do you smell it? Do you smell anything? He said, no. Really? Right now. You smell it? You smell it? You smell anything at all? No, I don't smell anything. He said, you know, it must be Baba. Baba. And I thought, oh my God, yeah. It was so beautiful. It was not like anything I ever really smelled before. But it was just this, I just wanted more and more of it. Where is it? Where's it? How can I find that? But I couldn't find it. And it was just, there it was again. It was mostly there, but then when I really tried to find it, I couldn't find it. You know, that's why I went in and asked Jeff. He said, and then when I would say, he said, I think I'm getting a contact high. So whenever I said I'm smelling it, he would smell too. Anyway, it was fun. But it was just one of those things. It's nice when these things happen. It's funny though, at the time, I mean, it's just so natural. It's not normal, but it's so natural that, you know, it's not like you're excited or oh, something happened. It's just, you know. He does stuff. He does. But then, and when you look back, you go, you know, you put the pieces together and say, how could that? No, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, how could that have happened? You know, it's something different's going on here, and you realize, yeah, that was not a normal event. Yeah. Because it's so personal to me, and it's just between me and Baba. That's how I feel. And I felt like I violated our privacy, you know, our intimacy. So I never mentioned it for a long, long time, anything. But I don't know, I think maybe it's time to share things. Because, yeah, because because Baba's here. He's not gone at all. and the access to him doesn't have the hindrance of the physical world. So it's much closer, very close. You don't have the body in the way, the distraction of the physical form. You have just that beautiful love that he is. It's so beautiful, and that's receivable. And no, I mean, he's here, he is here, and he's doing his work. I mean, he did his work.